Welcome to Guys in the Zone Talk Show, your place for news and tips on land and life in Costa Rica's Southern Pacific Zone.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Rod.
We are the Guys in the Zone. And what are we doing here?
We are going to talk about the real estate market here in the Southern Pacific Zone of Costa Rica.
For a change.
Yeah, but specifically, one of the questions we get asked all the time is, has the market reached the bottom?
That's the big Q.
Well, it's the... Remember that game show? It was the $64,000 question growing up as a kid, and that seemed like so much money. Like it was the grand prize.
Well, it's not near enough to get a good answer to that question, because who the heck knows?
You can buy a piece of Ocean View property for $64,000.
Well, there's some real estate information, yeah.
But yeah, hitting the bottom.
Who knows? I mean, we feel like we need to address this question in our talk show because we get asked this question. Do you think it's bottom? Well, might be. How's that for an answer?
And so tune in next time for another enlightening. No,
okay.
But he's right. It's a difficult question to answer.
We actually have an answer. It's just not very. It's not very concise. It's actually quite rhetorical, and it would almost be of a political nature because it's not very informative. But I'll give it to you anyway. It goes like this. It is sort of interesting. There's what I think is sort of a false bottom that we see happening around us. And I say false bottom because what we think of when we look at the economy, the global economy, is there indeed a recovery going on? And if there is a recovery going on, are we seeing an increase in the real estate business in Costa Rica?
Right.
Okay. Well, the answer to that question is, it depends on who you talk to, it depends on what newspaper you read, what website you read, and so on. What we're seeing around here is kind of interesting. And that is, it seems more like people are learning how to live in this new world that has happened since 2008, when the world's economy, not just one country's economy, but the world's economy went, as they say in Spanish, boca arriba, mouth up. I don't know why. We say belly up, right?
We say belly up. Yes.
But in any case, it did, and it went globally, right? And do we see a big recovery going on in the world that makes any kind of sense? I don't know. I don't know that much about it, quite honestly. But just looking around here, what I'm seeing is that there are people who have quit lowering their price every couple of months, trying to simulate the sale of a property, and in fact, some have moved their prices up a little bit. And you look at the behind the scenes on that, and you find out the reason is that they did that fire sale thing that we've talked about in previous talk shows.
That's right.
And they moved some property, they got some relief, and now they don't have to sell like they did before. And others have figured out how to make things work in this new world that we live in. One person that I know about moved out of her main residence and fixed up a little apartment kind of thing on her property, renting out her main residence. Now she's comfortable. Her place is still for sale, but her whole attitude about selling is very different, and she's not going to be as negotiable as she was to begin with. This is the kind of bottom.
That's right. That
we're starting to see here. Does that mean that it's a bottom? I don't think it does mean that's the bottom. I think what it means is that prices perhaps aren't going to be continuing to go down quite so much, but we're still going to probably get people who have held on as long as they can, and now they're just really going to find out they have to sell, so we're going to probably still have some more fire sales.
Yeah, that's right. There will always be those anomalies of people who need to sell. They have to have the cash, and their price reflects that. They're kind of leading the market, so to speak. I think what we saw a few years ago is there were a lot of people in that position, and so they were all leading the market, and so the market continued that downward trend. Now I think we see a bit more of a stabilizing effect at the bottom. Ocean view properties around $100,000. Everyone's kind of watching each other's price, but nobody really seems to be going under that. There's the occasional ocean view lot that will dip under that, but I think still there's no question that it's a buyer's market.
That's fact.
They hold most of the cards. That being said, sellers shouldn't give up hope of getting a decent price for their property, because there's something really special about Costa Rica, and when it plucks the heartstrings and really resonates with a buyer, when they stand on the right property, it's amazing how they'll find the money. Yep. And that's a good thing.
Well, that's right at the basis of any sale is desire, right? Somebody wants that thing, and you stand on this property and you go, people are always going to want this. The question is, what's the price going to be? And that $100,000 mark really does seem to be kind of an interesting psychological barrier. I remember back,
that's right,
years ago, when there was a few ocean view properties left at under 100,000, and they just one by one ticked off of the market, and after a while there were none. Well, we've got some more now. There's an interesting thing happening right here in Uvita, and when I point that way, I'm pointing up at the rim around Uvita. The whale's tail is right back behind us this way, so we're kind of like right in the heart of Uvita here, and all up around that rim there, Rod and I have got a number of listings. We're actually getting ready to do an open house this coming week, where we're going to have all of the realtors from Manuel Antonio down to Ojochal are going to come over the course of about a 24-hour. We're just going to keep ourselves available to show. We have about 8 listings right here in the rim of Uvita, and it's interesting that up in this body of available properties, there's only one house of those 8 properties, by the way. Most of them, obviously 7 of the 8 are raw land. But there was a fellow that really wanted to sell his properties, and so he asked me one time, he says, what do I have to do to sell my property? I said, let's get silly and lower the price down to $119. And for these properties, that was like truly leading the market.
Well, they're back to pre-boom prices.
Yeah, and it's less than what he paid for them and all this. And he says, well, if you think that's what we have to do, those properties did not sell. They have been under contract, which I don't remember if we mentioned this or not. There's been some odd fallouts of deals that have been under contract, money in escrow and the whole bit. And these properties have been affected by that. So there's been attempts to buy them. Through no fault of their own, they just simply haven't sold. But when you stand on these properties, you go, this is a lot of really fine quality property for $119. The funny thing is the effect that silly pricing had all around. Everything just kind of came down to about that. Now there's one fellow who's selling a property here now he just lowered it down to $99,000, and he was at the $119 to match these other ones for a while. Nothing sold. And so he's gone ahead and he's not even he's very comfortable financially. He just wants to liquidate and get his money working in the market in other ways. So to say, are you at the bottom? There's all kinds of different dramas going on that sort of affect. If it is a bottom, it's fairly flexible bottom. It's that trampoline bottom? Would we want to call it a trampoline? Something.
Yeah, that's.
Or one of those fun house, balloon bottom.
Yeah. Maybe one of those gymnastic floors that are kind of springy as opposed
to
it's
a gymnastic floor bottom.
I think one of the reasons why I think that we are at or near the bottom, where we're going to start to see a bit of all of those lower priced ocean view properties selling and the market creeping up slowly. I don't think it's going to be a steep increase, is retired people. We have already had quite a few families inquiring about relocating here, and in fact, I think we mentioned it last talk show. There are the private school down in Baena, not too far from Vita here, our office, is full, and there are a lot of expats coming here with their families, relocating Some of them even just doing it for half of a year. Not quite sure if they want to live here or not, but more and more of those types of buyers, relocators, but retirees. I'm doing an article right now on baby boomers and why they like Costa Rica so much and why we're seeing so many. Well, I mean, I know why we're seeing them. The numbers of retired people every day in the United States is staggering. It's geometric in its increase, and so I think a lot of
algorithmic.
There is an algorithm to it.
No, wait a minute, that's not right. Logarithmic.
I was an English major, so I don't know what any of that is. But needless to say, I think that's one of the reasons we're going to have a lot more buyers moving forward, because we've just got into the window of the baby boomers retiring. I think there are a lot of people who are, how would you call that? They're not particularly pleased with life in the United States and some of the pressures and stresses, taxes.
Very diplomatic.
Well, I don't mean to throw Uncle Sam under the bus, but I think a lot of people are fed up with
He's trying.
The way that government, is running things up there, along with many of the other governments in the banking sector, etc. I think life in the jungle, the prospect of living a more simple life in the jungle is appealing. And that's why we get so many inquiries from baby boomers.
Well, the retirees have always been a strong segment of our clientele. That's true. Interesting, well, one thing that we just had happen this morning, and I'm starting to view it as perhaps a bit of an indicator or a trend, are these guys buying the lower priced ocean view lots to do a speculative construction on. I think that's a great investment.
Yeah, everybody comes looking for a house.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they don't find it oftentimes because we just don't have a huge inventory of houses. There are a lot of houses here, but so spec home building seems like, if you have that kind of money, it seems like a really smart.
So that's getting common enough where I'm almost ready to declare that as sort of one of the branches or the streams coming at us of interested buyers. We've got the retirees have always been there. And then you've got now perhaps the speculative, the construction guy who wants to buy an inexpensive piece of land, put a nice house on it and sell it and make a buck. You got the families that fit into the category Rod just described of being a little disgruntled with home, wherever that may be. And then you have the end of the worlders who are looking to get off the grid and have the world's about to end, so let's go ahead and have hydropower plant and just have a goat and some chickens and raise some lettuce and spinach.
Well, you just told me about another group that was going to start a solar company. Another solar company in the area.
Which, by the way, excuse me for interrupting, but I just found out that a couple of weeks ago, Costa Rica alleviated the tax burden on solar companies.
Oh, wow.
So we should hopefully see a real upsurge in that industry as well.
Competitive pricing will really help.
Well, it'll help a lot because before it was cost prohibitive. Right. So anyway, that's a fairly diverse answer to the question if we hit bottom, but you also get a little bit of an update on what the heck is going on here in the zone.
Thanks for watching.